Hi, this is Alfie. I thought I'd tell you about the old Second World War. Well, this is the history of the Second World War by Alfie. Well, it all started back in the day. Like there was a guy called Hitler. In 1933, he decided to stop painting, and he became the old geezer in Germany, he first got the roads to be straight, and, back in the day, he had the old Olympic Games, and, he had a couple of successes at the Olympic Games. And, he was a runner, old Hitler was, in the old Olympic Games, So, there was the old Hitler, and, he decided to have a bit of the old, he thought, well, I'm gonna, see what, he went for a walk over the border at the old, Austria, he liked what he saw, and he said to the old geezers in Austria, he said, well, why don't we have a united Germany, And the ostriches had a good old chuckle, going, chuckling away, and the good old ostriches, they said, well, we'll have a bit of the old Germany, we'll shake hands, and there was a united Germany, and then they decided to have picnics in old Czechoslovakia, and they had a bit of the old borders, border chase, they were bored of the old borders, so they boarded them, and then they had a bit of the old, how's your father, So, back in the day, there was a bit of the old thing with the old, in the old September of 1939, the Germans, Hitler, walked into Poland, for a little holiday, and the Polish weren't happy with this, because they thought, Hitler, they said, no, Hitler, we don't want you in the old Poland, coming for a holiday, you haven't brought your beach towel. So, Hitler thought, well, it's not a problem, I'm gonna go bathe him on the old Adriatic, So, well, the Poles said, well, the Adriatic ain't here, it's the old Baltic, Well, Hitler couldn't understand this, but he took a little bit of a walk. He'd forgotten his beach towel. The Poles took offence at this and thought he was invading the country. We had a good old chuckle at that. Well, anyway, Poland declared war on Germany, and everyone got a little bit upset. Hitler was oblivious of all this, Anyway, Stalin thought, well, Hitler, I'm meeting him for coffee in Warsaw next week, so, Stalin did the same, he walked over the border into Poland, and, tripped over, and, he walked to Warsaw, of a weekend, and he met, Hitler for coffee in Warsaw. That's how Poland was, defeated, nobody was hurt, but, it was a bit of a laugh, for the old Hitler and Stalin. They chuckled, they were having a coffee in the old Warsaw. Anyway, the next bit of this story goes as follows. Next what happened was that the Germans decided to go for a little bit of the old wander into Russia. Well, the Russians didn't like this, and the Germans got as far as the old Stalingrad, and they wanted to go bathe him on the old River Volga. So, the old Germans, they put their beach towels on the beaches, like, and the Russians took offence to this. So, you know, there was a bit of an argument on the old River Volga, like, and, you know, the Germans were towing and throwing, the Russians were doing and throwing. Well, you know, one night, the Russians, you know, after a couple of days, like, they stole the Germans' beach towels from the old deck chairs along the River Volga, you know, by the old Stalingrad, like, and the Germans were not happy, so they said, "Hey, Russians, don't do this," like, and they all stormed off home. Well, you know, Hitler back in the old Germany, in the old Uhlers bunker, he thought, well, you know, it's not all right, so the Germans decided to have a major tank battle at the old Irsk. And, well, the tank battle was a bit of a palaver because the old Germans, you know, back by the old beach towels, there were a load of tanks of water at the old Battle of Kursk, like. So the Germans went up to the Russian tanks of water, spilt a bit of water out. The Russians didn't like this, and they decided to, you know, they decided to say, "Hey, you Germans, you know, stealing our water out the old tanks at the old Kursk." Well, they had a bit of a row, like, you know. Well, it all ended because a German soldier fell over, got a splinter in a, you know, as he fell over off a bit of the old rail, along the side of the wall, like, got a bit of the old splinter, had to go to the doctors, have the splinter taken out, and the Germans said, "Oh, you know, we're going home," like, so they were really offended by this guy having a splinter, like, so they all decided to go home. And, well, back to the old 1945, like, well, the Russians weren't too happy with the old Germans, so they invaded Germany, and they were looking for the old Hitler to say, hey Hitler, you know, we want you to explain what's happening, like, you know. Well, you know, good old Hitler, he wasn't having any of it, so he flew over to, you know, the old, in the old Blenheim fighter. He picked up Mussolini on the way, like, and he flew up to the moon, and the Russians weren't happy with this, like, you know. In the old Blenheim plane, he went to the moon like Hitler. He stole one off the British, which, you know, stealing ain't too good, like, but, you know, the British didn't really need it anyway. But anyway, Hitler flew to the moon with the old Mussolini, and they weren't seen again, like, you know. Well, the Russians weren't happy, and they put together something called the Nuremberg trials. Anyway, the Nuremberg trials were dog trials, where German bloodhounds and Dalmatians, you know, 108 food Dalmatians, like, they had a bit of the old child, the old dog child at the old Nuremberg, like, and that was it, really. So that was the end of the war. So that's Alfie's version of the Second World War. So the next thing's going to be the history of the old First World War. Alright, bye.